You see yourself in the mirror, but it's not you anymore. You walk into an apartment with no windows. On the wall is a dusty mirror. You step closer, but the person in the mirror isn't you. It has the same face, the same eyes, but the gaze is unfamiliar, colder, angrier, more real. You turn away, but that image stays, silently, watching you. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the part of you you don't want to admit. Not bad, just never allowed to exist. Since you were young, you were told to choose the sunny side. At school, in your family, under judgmental eyes. You smiled when angry, stayed silent when you wanted to scream. You were kind, so you'd be loved. And slowly, you built a house called persona. Jung defines persona as the mask you create to adapt to the world. It helps you survive, but the price is truth. Every time you hide an emotion, a door closes in the mind. A basement forms. You toss in jealousy, anger, hatred. You lock the door. Label it. Not allowed. But darkness doesn't sleep. It shifts. It whispers. It waits. You think you're in control. Then you explode over a small comment. Sink from a cold stare. Cry in an empty apartment. You don't understand. Because you've forgotten what you buried. What you resist persists. The more you suppress, the stronger it grows. The further you run, the closer it returns. You think the shadow is your enemy. But no, it's the part of you that's never been heard. It's the locked door, not the lock. On the other side is energy, power, the missing pieces of who you are. Persona, shadow, archetype. 3 layers of the psyche. Persona is the social self. Shadow is the rejected self. And archetype is the ancient image that rises when you touch reality. The more you live in persona, the bigger the shadow becomes. The more you suppress the shadow, the more the archetype appears. In dreams, in emotion, in sudden intuition. You don't need to destroy yourself. You just need to recognize yourself. The process begins with a look, à quelle décision, a gaze into the mirror you've been avoiding. No one can do it for you. Only you. Only when you're tired of pretending. Only when you realize you've never really lived. You've only existed between the mask and the shadow. If you've listened this far and feel something moving, leave a comment. I found myself in the drifting boat. That's it. No explanation needed. No need to do anything. That's the first step. Being honest with yourself. And maybe this is the first time you're doing that. There's a small door in the house of your mind. You walk past it every day and pretend not to see it. You're busy. You've smiled. You handle everything like an adult. But then, a sound, a soft pull, something from beneath that you can't explain, but feels real. That's the basement. That's where the darkness is. How many things have you locked away there? Moments when you were angry but said nothing. Moments you felt small but acted fine. Moments of fear, jealousy, sadness, all erased like they never existed. You called it maturity. Society called it control. But your mind knows. It was avoidance. The shadow doesn't need to scream. It whispers. In gestures, you don't notice. In dreams you forget. In choices you repeat. Again and again. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So you think, I always fall for the wrong person. I always get left behind. I never feel confident. No, you're being directed by a past you've never even looked at. The shadow isn't frightening. What frightens you is living disconnected from it. And deeper still, beneath the shadow, there's something older, something primal. The archetype, universal patterns. Not names, not stories, just symbols, just energy, just calls. You dream of a hidden woman, a stuffed animal following you, an abandoned house, a child standing in the corner. Don't dismiss it. That's not just a dream. It's a language. The language of the archetype. A voice older than words. A voice that doesn't explain. It only echoes. Anima. The hidden feminine. Animus. The unconscious masculine. The self. The core that transcends roles. And trickster. The deceiver who leads you back to yourself. They're not enemies. They're not monsters. They are guides. Not for revenge, but for reconnection. The shadow isn't alone. It lives in an ecosystem, layered deep in your unconscious. The more you ignore it, the thicker it becomes, until one day, you don't recognize yourself anymore. You're not tired because of life. You're tired from living separate, from the part of you that matters most. And now, it's time to open the basement door. Not with logic, but with attention. You don't need to fight. You don't need to fix. Just sit down and say, I've heard you. That's where real change begins. Not with explosions, but with silence and truth. If there's a locked door in your house, don't explain it. Just comment, I'm ready to open the door. Not to others, to yourself. The door opens from within, and you are the key. You've opened the basement. You step down one stair, and then you hesitate. No breakthrough, no explosion, just fragments, old flickers of pain. Your anger, never expressed. Your fear of being abandoned. The silent child inside you, staring. You stop mid-stare, frozen, wanting to close the door, wanting to pretend you saw nothing. This is the default response. You don't want to touch the shadow. You just want to talk about it. You say, I'll stay positive. I'll read self-help. I'll learn to let go. But the shadow is not a theory. It's the wound. And wounds don't heal. If you pretend, there's no blood. Carl Jung said, you don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. You can't heal by ignoring the dark. You must step into it, not to suffer, but to remember. The shadow doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to ask, when will you stop lying to yourself? The truth is, you've been weak, envious, hungry to be seen, secretly selfish. You're not bad for that. You're only lost when you lose connection with your own truth. The shadow holds all the parts you've disowned. But the house you live in, it's burning. From below. The more you hide, the thicker the smoke. The more you run, the deeper the collapse. You think you're in control, but you're trapped inside a house built on suppression. You beg the shadow not to ruin things. You make promises. You say, "I'll change." But the shadow doesn't want promises. It wants presence. Because deep down, you're in pain. You don't know who you are anymore. You've spent your whole life pleasing others, but never once sat down to speak with yourself. Maybe you're not afraid the shadow will hurt you. Maybe you're afraid it might set you free. Because this part of you, the one you starved, locked away, ignored, is still knocking. When can I finally live? That's all it asks. This is the moment. You either turn away and live a half-life, or you face it. Not to conquer it, but to integrate. When you embrace the shadow, you don't become perfect. You become real. Fully real. Where nothing can drain you anymore. No more acting. No more waiting for validation. No more forcing yourself to be strong. You just show up. And slowly, the colors begin to change. Not around you, but within you. You don't need to defeat the shadow. You need to understand it. Walk with it. Learn from it. Because once it stops hiding, it stops haunting. It starts helping. It becomes a companion. It becomes your compass. It becomes your desk. Don't post a status. Don't say I'm fine. Just comment, "I'm not hiding anymore." Because sometimes saying that is an inner revolution. The shadow doesn't announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't wear black robes or sharp teeth. Most of the time, it's polite, well-dressed, punctual, helpful, invisible. It answers at parties, says the right things, smiles when needed. It's the good friend, the ideal coworker, the nice person who never complains. And that is what makes it dangerous. You think you've mastered yourself, but you've only mastered the mask. The shadow wears your face when you're not looking. It lives in procrastination. When you delay, what you know must change. In perfectionism, when you overwork to hide your fear of failure. In silent envy, when you say "I'm happy for you," but feel a knot in your chest. It plays the nice one, always yielding, always soft, always saying it's okay. Until one day, you snap. It plays the victim, the one who fixes everything for your parents, your ex, the world, but never for yourself. It whispers familiar lines. "I can't change. I always have bad luck. I don't deserve more." You think it's truth. It's not. It's a script written by your shadow, and you've been performing it for years. Carl Jung wrote, "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality." It's not just about emotions. It's about honesty. About owning the truths you hate the most. You're not as good as you pretend to be. And that doesn't make you evil. It makes you human. When you finally say, "I've been jealous. I've been manipulative. I've needed to be seen," that's when the silence breaks. That's when you take back control. Because what you name can no longer control you in silence. But if you still say, "I have nothing to hide," stop. Look closer. The shadow shows up when someone gets the praise you crave, when a boundary makes you feel guilty, when a small comment makes your body tense. It's not here to shame you. It's here to remind you you still have a part of you waiting to be brought home. And when you admit it, even once, you stop looking at life through a mask. You begin to see with honest eyes. If you've ever procrastinated, been secretly envious, or played a role just to be accepted, comment below. I've recognized the shadow in me. No need to explain, no backstory, no drama. Just write it. You've already done more than most people ever will. You wake up in the middle of the night. No sound, no movement, just something. A chill in your chest, a weight on your spine. A dream just passed. You grab your phone, scroll, dismiss it. It was just a dream. But deep down, you don't believe that. Because dreams are doors, silent ones, that keep appearing even if you never open them. Carl Jung once said, "Dreams are the soul's guide, a map of the unconscious, drawn in symbols, etched in emotion. The shadow speaks clearest when your mind is asleep. You dream of a strange house, rooms inside rooms, staircases that lead nowhere. You keep descending until you fall and wake up. Not random, not meaningless. That house is you, the locked rooms, your forgotten memories, the descent, your refusal to go deeper. You dream of being chased. You don't know by who, but you run and can't escape. You call it a nightmare, but it's not fear chasing you. It's your shadow asking, why haven't you stopped? Why haven't you turned around? Jung said, dreams are small doors hidden in the deepest sanctuary of the soul. You don't need a dictionary to decode them. Stop asking, what does a snake mean? Start asking, why am I dreaming this now? Because the shadow never repeats symbols for no reason. It only sends images. When you're finally ready to hear, a forgotten chilled, a door that never opens, a wave rushing through your bedroom, a party where no one sees you. You've seen them before, thought it was coincidence. It's not. It's a call, a reminder of the part of you that's still waiting. You don't need to decode everything. Just pause, write it down, and ask, what part of me is speaking through this image? The dream never lies. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't shame you. It points, silently, always. If you listen, it'll take you straight to the part of the mind you've ignored for years. The more bizarre the dream, the louder the message. Ignore it long enough, and one day you'll wake up and not recognize yourself. Because the soul has knocked so many times, you've forgotten what it sounds like. If you've ever had a dream that haunted you, that lingered even after waking, don't explain it. Just comment, I was reminded. That's enough. Because some messages don't need answers. Only silence and presence. You are not alone. No one carries a shadow in isolation. We touch. We love. We hate. We reflect. And in every reaction, the shadow appears. You feel angry at someone always trying to control. Maybe you've been silent for too long. Maybe you crave power, but don't admit it. You're annoyed by someone's weakness. Perhaps it's the part of you the fragile, needy side you never allowed to exist. Carl Jung called this the projected shadow, the part of yourself you disown and then assign to others. You don't hate them. You hate what they reflect. That cold person you're drawn to. Maybe you fear emotion. That one who hurts you. Maybe, deep down, you believe you deserve it. That belief isn't intellectual. It's emotional. It's old. It's shadow-born. So you fall for people who open the same wound, over and over. Intimacy leads to hurt. Then comes anger. Then silence. Then distance. And then you repeat the cycle with a new name. But it's the same story. Different face. Same script. Not destiny. Just the shadow. Quietly directing the play. It's not that you love someone because they're perfect. You love the emotional depth they trigger. You love the soul that mirrors something unresolved in you. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." No one shows up by accident. They arrive as fragments, as mirrors, as leçons. And if you dare to look, really look, you'll see your own eyes staring back. The more you avoid it, the more tangled your relationships become. The more you deny it, the more similar people appear. It's not the universe punishing you. It's your consciousness trying to become whole. Love is not an escape from the shadow. It is where the shadow is most visible, most alive. You only truly love when you love the parts of yourself you once rejected. You only truly connect when you no longer have to act. If someone has ever made you feel rage, confusion, longing, or deep pain, don't name them. Don't analyze them. Just comment, "I felt like a different person," because sometimes the moment you feel most broken by another is the moment you are closest to your true self. You've always believed strength means not feeling, not crying, not shaking, not showing anything. You've told yourself, don't let them see you weak. So you control, you endure, you stand tall, even as you're crumbling inside. But the darkness isn't powerful because it's dark. It's powerful because you've never entered it with the light of kindness. You're not weak because you feel sadness. You're weak because you bury it. You're not weak because you feel rage. You're weak because you pretend it's not there. Carl Jung wrote, "There is no consciousness without pain." How many years have you spent numbing yourself? How many times have you said, "I'm fine," when your chest was frozen? Have you ever smiled in a room where you wanted to run? No one noticed, but the shadow did. You treat emotion like a tiger. Dangerous, untouchable, but it's not a tiger. It's a stream. You're meant to walk through it, stand on the edge, and it floods you. Step inside, and it teaches you. You don't have to conquer emotion. You have to walk with it. Sit with fear. No story. No analysis. Just presence. Breathe with anger. Not blame. Not suppression. Just recognition. Every emotion carries something. Not weakness, but a message. Un fragile porcelain item. From a room your intellect has never entered. You say you want healing, but you keep locking emotion in a vault. then wonder why your soul feels cold. You say you want peace, but kill the flame before it ever lights warmth. You confuse calmness with numbness, resilience with denial. You call it strength, but it's just a house with no electricity. True strength isn't loud. It isn't armored. It isn't unbreakable. It's this: still running, even while afraid. Still breathing, even while hurt. Still open, because that's when you know. You're not a mask, not a story, not a role. You're a living being, and the ability to feel is proof you're still alive. You weren't taught how to feel. You were trained to avoid. Now, it's time to teach yourself again. Embrace the emotion. Don't drown in it. Listen to it. Don't fear it. Walk with it. Don't run. That's the art. That's the strength. Not fierce, not cold, but rooted, like a tree. If you've ever said "I'm fine" when you weren't, don't explain. Don't overthink. Just comment, "I'm learning to feel," because you don't have to be perfect. You just have to stop. Place a hand on your heart and say, "I'm still here." You've been afraid of your shadow. You ran from it, locked it behind windows, buried it under silence. You thought, "If I let it out, I'll lose control." But no. The shadow never wanted control. It just wanted you to come back. Not to an idea, not to perfection, but to humanity, to essence, to truth. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But how can you become your full self if you only accept half? The shadow may look dark, but it's not a curse. It's a map. It shows you where to return. It becomes movement when you're stuck, wisdom when you're blind, a compass when the world feels false. When you stop seeing it as a monster, it stops acting like one. It becomes the forgotten child, now held, the intuition, now heard, the instinct, now honored. You don't need to control it. You begin to work with it. You don't silence it. You understand it. You stop shrinking. The shadow is not darkness. It's light. From the opposite side. It's the sunrise hidden inside the night. You begin to realize you can be angry and still love. You can be afraid and still move forward. You can be imperfect and still worthy. That's integration, not self-help, not erasure, not performance. You don't have to kill the ego. You walk beside it, not to be great, but to be whole. You speak less. You feel more. You react slower. You respond deeper. You are no longer pulled by emotion. But you're not cold either. You no longer chase light. You reflect it through your shadow. And suddenly, you look into the mirror and you no longer flinch. Because for the first time, you've stepped in deep enough to see who's truly there and realize you're not broken. You're just returning. If you've made it this far, if something inside you has shifted, then comment, "I've seen myself." That's all. No more words. No final performance. Because sometimes, just seeing your own shadow is already a rebirth. Thank you for watching. And more than that, thank you for staying with yourself through this journey. Facing your shadow is never easy. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's quiet, personal, invisible to others, but deeply felt by you. If you've reached this point, you've already done what many never will. You listened. You looked in the mirror and didn't look away. I don't need you to like or share this video, but if it spoke to you, leave your mark. Comment what you felt, or say nothing, and just sit in the silence for a while. And if you do choose to write something, let it be simple. Let it be honest. Maybe just, "I've come home." Because that's what this is. Not healing. Not fixing. Just remembering who you were before you had to pretend. Wherever you are, I see you. And I hope you keep walking. Until the next mirror. Until the next truth. Until you no longer have to hide from anything inside you. See you in the next video. Stronger, softer, more yourself.